Amid the smoke and the thunder of helicopters in 1970, a young American soldier accidentally met a little Vietnamese girl with only one arm left. No language, no words, only a fleeting exchange of eyes between two worlds. He gave the girl a new arm. Then the war tore them apart forever. Half a century later, that gray-haired soldier returned to Vietnam, searching for the child he once met. No name, no trace, only a memory that has never slept. The war and the little girl. It was 1970. The air over southern Vietnam was thick with dust and the distant rumble of helicopters. In the small coastal town of Rạch Giá, life went on, fragile and uncertain, caught between fear and survival. That evening, a U.S. Navy sailor named Michael Madrid arrived by helicopter, his boots touching the ground of a country that had become both foreign and familiar. He was young, perhaps in his 20s, and like many soldiers, he carried the quiet weariness of someone who had seen too much. After a long day, he went to have dinner at a small place called the Cam Jo Hotel. It was there that he met a girl about 10 years old. Her right arm was missing, ending in a clean, tragic line. She stood shyly beside an older woman, perhaps her aunt or sister, her dark eyes wide with a kind of innocent wonder. Michael didn't know what to say. He didn't even know her name. But when their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them, a flicker of recognition, of shared humanity amid the wreckage of war. The next day, the girl returned, and then the next. She would wait for him near the helicopter landing zone, watching the choppers rise and fall like giant metal birds. Sometimes she'd smile. Sometimes she'd just sit beside him in silence, her one small hand tracing shapes in the dirt. Through gestures and fragments of words, Michael learned her story. Her father, a soldier in the South Vietnamese army, had died in combat. Her mother, too, was gone. She lived now with her aunt, scraping by with whatever they could find. The war had taken everything from her, except her quiet resilience. Michael felt something stir in him, something deeper than pity. He began to look forward to her visits, to those quiet hours when they could forget the world outside. She reminded him of his niece back home, or perhaps of the child he might one day have. Her name, as best as he could remember, sounded like Dai or Nai. The exact word escaped him, but her presence never would. One day, while she played near the helipad, Michael saw how she struggled with simple things, tying a ribbon, holding a toy, and he made a decision that would change both their lives. He spoke to his fellow sailors. Together, they pooled what little money they had. They arranged for the girl to be flown by helicopter to a hospital, to be fitted with an artificial arm. When she returned, she beamed with pride, raising her new arm for everyone to see. Michael felt a lump in his throat. For the first time, he thought, maybe, just maybe, something good could come from all this suffering. But the war had other plans. The last goodbye. Beneath the rotor blades. A few weeks later, Michael heard the news. The girl's aunt, desperate and starving, had sold the prosthetic arm. At first, he refused to believe it. But when he saw the girl again, her face told the truth. She was ashamed, her eyes lowered. He didn't get angry. How could he? War forced people into impossible choices. Selling that arm wasn't cruelty, it was survival. Still, his heart broke in ways he couldn't explain. Every day after that, Michael tried to help in small ways. He'd bring her fruit from the market, he'd fix her broken sandals, and sometimes, when the sun dipped low over the rice fields, they'd just sit together, two souls from opposite sides of the world, finding peace in each other's company. But in May 1971, his orders came. It was time to leave Vietnam. On the morning of his departure, the girl came running to him. Her small figure was framed by the rising dust of the helicopters. She was crying, silently, fiercely, clutching his sleeve with her one hand. Michael knelt and took her hand in his. He wanted to say something, anything, but no words came. So instead, he just whispered, "Be strong." She looked up at him, tears streaking her dusty face. Then, without a word, she placed a small flower into his palm. That was their last goodbye. The helicopter rose into the sky, carrying Michael away. Below, he saw the girl grow smaller and smaller until she vanished into the haze. And with her, a piece of his heart was left behind, buried in the soil of a country he never truly understood, but could never forget. Years passed. Michael went home, built a life, served on ships that sailed across the Pacific, but Vietnam never left him. Sometimes at night, he'd dream of her, standing by the helipad, her hair fluttering in the wind, her missing arm a quiet reminder of everything war destroys and everything it can't. He never saw her again, but he never stopped wondering. The return, searching for a memory that never slept. Half a century later, time had carved its lines into Michael's face. His hair had turned silver, his hands trembled slightly when he held his morning coffee. But one thing hadn't changed: the memory of that girl. And so, in his twilight years, he decided to return. It was 2020 when he first stepped again onto Vietnamese soil. The world had changed, the war long over, the cities alive with light and laughter. Yet somewhere deep inside, he felt the same ache he'd carried since 1971. He traveled to Rạch Giá, walking the narrow streets he once knew. The Cam Jo Hotel was still there, renamed, repainted, but somehow familiar. He spoke with locals, showed them an old photograph of a helicopter landing zone, and asked about a girl with one arm. Most shook their heads. Some thought they might have heard a story like that once, long ago. But no one knew for sure. He returned again in 2022 and again in 2023. Each visit was a pilgrimage, not of religion, but of remembrance. He searched orphanage records, visited hospitals, talked to old villagers who might have known a child like her. But each time, he left with no answers. Still, he refused to stop searching. Because for Michael, this was more than just finding a lost friend. It was about something deeper: redemption, healing, the hope that somewhere out there, that little girl had grown into a woman who had survived. Maybe she had a family now. Maybe she told her children about a kind American sailor who once gave her an arm and a reason to smile again. Or maybe she was gone, one of countless lives swallowed by the silence of war. Whatever the truth, Michael knew this. She had changed him. She had taught him that compassion could exist even in the heart of destruction, that one small act of kindness could echo across generations. And so, even as his body weakened, he kept returning. Because love, the kind born from humanity, not romance, doesn't fade. It waits. It endures. In the end, Michael never found her. Not her name, not her home, not even a trace. Yet somehow she was never truly lost. She lived on in his memories, in the quiet corners of his heart untouched by war. Whenever he stood before the sea, he saw her again, a little girl beneath the Vietnamese sun, smiling through the dust, her laughter echoing with the sound of rotor blades. Maybe that's what life is, fleeting encounters that leave eternal marks. On his last visit to Vietnam, Michael whispered to the wind, "I hope you're safe. I hope you lived a good life." The sun dipped low over Rạch Giá, painting everything in gold. And though no answer came, he felt it, a quiet warmth, a peace long overdue. Because maybe, across time and memory, she heard him.